What's up, America? This is Tim the Talent. I'm here with Case Dog, man. We are them dudes over there. We just want to touch up on a couple of topics here. Really, mainly one topic for real. Right now, the Bengals seem to be in a state of crisis. And so we're going to discuss whether or not the Bengals should move on from Marvin Lewis or whether they should keep him. And what can they do to possibly get the ship righted, to where they can possibly make the playoffs. Case Dog, there's a lot of rumbling that we should get rid of Marvin Lewis, but I don't think the season's over yet. What do you think, man?
I'm not going to say the season's over with, but I feel like if we have a disappointing season, then we probably do need to move on from Marvin. Now, with that being said, the only issue with moving on from him would be who are we going to get to replace him with? Because it's not like it's a lot of like really good head coaches out there just waiting to get jobs. I mean, if we could get Hugh Jackson back from the Browns, now that's a different story. Like, I'll actually be okay with that move, but we know that's not going to happen. The only logical, they ain't even going to say it's logical, but what I would like to see would be get Harbaugh that used to be with San Francisco to replace Marvin Lewis. But we all know that Mike Brown don't like to pay people, so that's why we can't get the quality of players we should be getting or the coaching staff. Because if we could probably pay people, we probably wouldn't have lost 2 offensive coordinators.
You know what? I'm a argue from the other side, actually. I wouldn't even say that Mike Brown don't like to pay people because he actually overpaid to keep Mike Zimmer. He paid Mike Zimmer like a head coach just to stay as a defensive coordinator because Mike Zimmer would have left like even earlier than he did. So, he throws out the bucks when he needs to. Hugh Jackson got paid pretty good, too. He also was going to open up the checkbook to Marvin Lewis-Jones. They was going to overpay to keep him, because they don't need Marvin Jones to be a number 1 wide receiver, but they were going to pay Marvin Jones the exact same amount that he's making in Detroit right now. But Marvin, knowing his skill set and his ability, like he wanted to be the man. He said, why should I play alongside A.J. Green when I can beat the A.J. Green of the Detroit Lions?
But he's not even that in Detroit because ain't Golden Tate basically the A.J. Green in Detroit?
Well, last year, yes, but Marvin Lewis-Jones was leading the league in receiving yards. Now, if you think about Julio Jones been balling, A.J. Green been balling, and you got Marvin Jones leading the NFL in receiving. He's been doing his thing, man. He's been doing his thing in Detroit. So it's caused a lot of fans. They looking at our roster like, dang, look what he's doing over there. And, so they're questioning a lot of the moves that the Bengals are doing. But I think the best thing that happened to the Bengals was Marvin Lewis-Jones moving on because what they did was turn around and sign Gio to a long-term deal. And, I hate to say it, but I think Gio is more important than Marvin Lewis-Jones at this present time, especially considering what's going on with Jeremy Hill, and they're not even using Burkhead right now. Gio may be your starter for the rest of the season, and he seems to fit this offense better than the other. Well, I can't say Burkhead because he don't play, but right. He fits the offense better than Jeremy Hill right now. And then just to touch up on Marvin Lewis, the dude done had 5 or 6 straight winning seasons. I think out of the last 7 seasons, he had 6 winning seasons and 6 playoff appearances. He might even he had 2 division championships, 2 AFC North championships under his belt in that time span. So I believe that Marvin is actually doing a decent job with the control that Mike Brown is allowing him to have. Because in 2011, he was going to walk. He said, I need more control. Mike Brown said, okay, here you go. We'll give you a little bit. They've been to the playoffs ever since. So I would expect after losing coordinators, you done lost probably about 7 starters or guys that could be starting. And you draft well, but your players are not always ready, year 1 or year 2. Kirkpatrick is a prime example. Kirkpatrick 5 years later is a totally different player than Kirkpatrick.
He still gets exposed
year
a
1.
lot, though.
Not this year. This year,
yeah.
He's been on the money, but he's starting to hit his prime, So the Bengals got a decision to make there, too.
Well, we got a lot of decisions to make. Because, we signed Gio to a long-term deal, so what we going to do? Just let Jeremy Hill walk, or is we going to trade him for something?
No, they'll probably re-sign Jeremy Hill, too.
But I don't think he would come back, though. I feel like Jeremy Hill would probably be like, well, I want to be the number 1 back.
Well, he is the de facto number 1 back, but I think that right now, the way the offense is going, Gio is just a better fit.
Well, Gio's more versatile, too.
Yeah, they both can play at the same time. There's no reason why you got to have a ultimate number 1. You could be 1A or 1B. But to get back to Marvin Lewis, I mean, Marvin Lewis is just a piece of the puzzle. I don't think firing Marvin Lewis is going to solve your problems. I mean, Marvin Lewis is the guy that acquired all that talent. He's the guy that's coaching up said talent. Like, so he is underestimated in his ability to acquire and to coach. And because part of coaching is also teaching, you know. So he's teaching these players and developing players as well. So you lose that. You go back to the Bengals of the 90s where they were just drafting guys. They weren't coaching them up. And guys weren't reaching their full potential until they left and went to a different team.
Well, I think with that is like shit. Let me shoot. I don't know what I was gonna say. I do, but I don't know how to phrase it. So, but basically, like, I mean, Marvin Lewis, he is a good fit for the Bengals. He is coaching up the players and everything. I just think that us as fans, we don't really look at the bigger picture of it. We just like, oh, we keep winning all these seasons, but we can't never make it out the wild card. Which, I mean, to an extent, that is an issue. But, like, if you look at it like how the NBA is kind of like, or the sports in general, it's more about what have you done for my team lately. Like, okay, yeah, we keep having winning seasons, but you can't make it past a wild card. At some point, you are going to have that discussion. At some point, be like, I might really have to let go of this coach.
Well, I think they played above their heads. Like the first 3 years of the Andy Dalton and A.J. Green era, they played above their heads. I think, especially 2011, 2012. In 2011, they was picked to go 0-16. So you got a squad that was predicted to go 0-16. You had lost Chad Johnson, Terrell Owens, and Carson Palmer. So those are two major figures, or three major players there. Every one of them has been to a Pro Bowl at one point. Yeah. And you replaced them with rookies, so to speak. And let's see, they went like what? Were they like 4-12 the previous year? I mean, they had a terrible record. I think it was like 4-12 the previous year with those guys. And then you turn around and go 9-7 and make a wild card with the rookies. And on top of that, you also had a rookie offensive coordinator in Jay Gruden, who never was a coordinator on the NFL level. I mean, he was an assistant with his brother, but he was never an offensive coordinator on the NFL level. So you take all of these beginners, and it was a short and striking season, too. They missed training camp and everything, and you still made the playoffs. Marvin Lewis, did he win Coach of the Year? I mean, I know he was in the run-ins that year, and he should have won. If he didn't win, he should have won. That was a phenomenal job. Now, to expect them to win the wild card game, I think they played the Houston Texans, who were a Super Bowl pick that year. They underachieved, and they had veterans on that team.
Underachieving.
Yeah, they were the Super Bowl pick that year. So to play against them in Texas, I mean, in Houston, you got rookies on the road in a playoff game. Of course they were going to lose that game. Okay, you're number 2. I mean, you essentially have the same team. Like nothing really changed then. You essentially have the same team. Instead of having Cedric Benson at running back, you have Ben Jarvis Ellis at running back. You know what I mean? And Andy Dalton and those guys are being compared to other quarterbacks like Peyton Manning, you know, who now Joseph Addai is not necessarily, you know, big time. But I mean, Peyton Manning also had Edgerrin James in his backfield, you know, who was a Pro Bowler. Kirk Warner had Marshall Faulk. So every other quarterback that we're naming had somebody of note at running back. You know, Tom Brady also had Ben Jarvis Ellis, but he had Kevin Falk. He had like Corey Dillon. He had other guys to go along with Ben Jarvis Ellis. Ben Jarvis Ellis wasn't the guy. So in 2012, Ben Jarvis Ellis and I think Brian Leonard, number 40. He was known for the Leonard Leap. He was known for running and jumping over people. He was a decent blocker. But he was just a giant scat back, basically. Catch out the backfield. Wasn't a Hall of Fame player or a Pro Bowl player by any means. Not a starter. Those were your two guys. And you went to the playoffs with that and faced an even better Houston Texans team. And you lost again. You know, and not to mention the injuries that happened then. I mean, I think one time they went without their punter because their jaw got broken.
Oh, yeah.
Another time you didn't have... You didn't have Geno for not Geno, but you didn't have Geno Atkins for the 2013 season. You had Malaluga was hurt in 2012, but he played anyway. I think Chris Crocker was also injured. So I mean, it just had a lot of things mounting up against them. 2013, it really hurt it though, because Geno was having a phenomenal year in 2013. He was out. Who else was out in 2013? There was another Oh yeah, I think the punter was out in that. And 2013 was a tough year.
Marvin Lewis out too?
No, not Marvin Lewis.
Marvin.
Marvin Lewis Jones played. He played that year. I think he might have been hurt the 2012 year.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know. It was one of the years.
He was out.
Manson dude was hurt.
Yeah, he was out. I want to say, was Tyler Eifert hurt too? I think Tyler Eifert was hurt at the end of the 2013 year. I think he was a little banged up. But that was a year they still should have won. Even with the injuries, they still should have won, and they were actually, on their way to winning. You know what I'm saying? But I think a timely Geo fumble kind of unraveled things in 2013. 2014, they had no business beating the Colts in Indianapolis. A.J. Green wasn't there. Jermaine Gresham was hurt. Your best wide receiver was a third-string running back in Rex Burkhead. You started Brandon Tate and Kobe Hamilton, I think that was his name, Kobe Hamilton, who's the Steelers' fifth wide receiver right now. I'm surprised he even made a roster because the Bengals cut him, and then at the playoff time, he was still a street free agent, and they brought him back. So you weren't going to win with that. Andy Dalton had nobody to throw to. So 2014 X'd that out. So that's about 4 years already just X'd out. You had 1 year where you were the favorite, which was 2013. Now, 2015, they got off to that hot start. Your players are now starting to hit their primes and things like that. That was your best legitimate chance to win.
Very true.
And they almost won. Even then, Andy Dalton didn't play. You know what I mean? So you didn't have, Andy Dalton and A.J. Green and Burflick, Geno, all your core players, you haven't even got to the playoffs with all of them playing in the same game. You know what I mean? So, and I think Tyler Eifert was banged up in the 2015 game too. He had some concussion issues and things like that, and he was trying to fight back and try to, play through. Reggie Nelson got injured in that game. People don't talk about that either. He got injured early in that game. You know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of things that was going against the Bengals, and they still were weathering the storm, fighting through it. So point being, they just got bad luck. You know what I mean? I know other teams have bad luck, but even if you want to go back to Carson Palmer, back in 2005, they was about to run to the Steelers out the gym, and the Steelers knew it. The Steelers admitted it. After, years later, man, we thought we was in trouble. Palmer threw that bomb. We had no way of stopping their aerial attack. Him, Chris Henry, we had no answers for Chris Henry and that deep ball. You take both of them out on, in one play, and you don't fear John Kitna.
Right. They
knew John Kitna wasn't going deep, so the fact that John Kitna couldn't throw downfield, that takes Chad out the game. So, your best chances of winning is gone. You play in Pittsburgh at dang near full strength, and your franchise is hurt on the first play. So that you didn't have a chance there either. You know what I mean? So I just want to see Marvin Lewis have a shot. Just kind of, you don't have to have perfect health, but just have a shot where you have Andy Dalton, A.J. Green, Tyler Eifert. On the defensive side, you got Burflick, you got Geno Atkins. Something.
Yeah. Like I said, if I ain't going to say the season over because, they showed that they still have fight in them in that New England game. So I'm not going to say the season's over with. So with that being said, I feel like if we make the playoffs or even have a remotely decent year, Marvin Lewis would be fine. Even if we didn't have a good year, he'd probably be fine. Because I don't think Mike Brown just going to up jump and get rid of him anyway. Even though a lot of us want that to happen, but
I think Marvin might quit. Marvin might say, you know what? Enough is enough.
That's a possibility too. That's a very big possibility.
He was trying to hand the job to Hugh Jackson. But before Hugh Jackson left, he wanted Hugh Jackson to be his successor. Hugh Jackson told Mike Brown, put it on paper. You put it in the contract. Mike Brown was like, no, not quite. We'll wait and see. So Hugh Jackson went, coached Cleveland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. For me, I take a different approach because, granted, sometimes you do need to hear a new voice. I get that. And maybe that time has come for the Bengals. But I don't think it's a Marvin Lewis thing. I think it's a thing where maybe it's the players themselves. They might have to hear a different voice in the locker room.
Very true.
So, but hey, let us know what you think, man. I know I hogged up the time. Hey, peace.
Don't
Take care.
play with it.